All right, Coach. Right out of the gate. Cake or pie?
I'm sorry?
Cake or pie?
Ooh, pie.
Pie. I'm a pie guy too.
Okay.
Cash App or Venmo?
Venmo.
Okay, you're the first person to say that. Okay.
Venmo.
Pepsi or Coke?
Ooh, cherry Coke.
Hey,
Cherry Coke.
specific with it. Okay. Now, when it's cold out, hat or gloves?
When it's cold out, hat.
Hat. I'm a hat guy too. I'm
Hat,
bald.
yeah.
Last one. Huddle or crossover?
Huddle.
Ready to do it. Appreciate you sitting down with me, Coach. Now we can roll into the real stuff. Now, give me the beginning, okay? Because I remember Jacob Maloney, who I met pretty much through you.
Yeah.
He gave me some of your backstory. I think he told me you're not from Oklahoma originally, are you?
I'm not. No.
Where you from?
I'm from a small town in Kansas, Girard, Kansas, in the southeast corner. Went to a small 4A high school there, Girard High School. Ended up in my background. It's a lot different than most basketball coaches. I actually played college baseball.
Really?
So I ended up, I was a college baseball player at Missouri Southern in Joplin, Missouri. Always loved basketball. I've seen some of your other podcasts. Like a lot of coaches knew I wanted to coach at a young age, like 7th, 8th grade. Knew I wanted to coach, not necessarily what sport. It was always basketball first at that time. But then I got so involved with baseball, and my brother's a college baseball coach. He coached at junior college in Neosho, Missouri, Crowder College. So I just kind of didn't know what it was going to, what way I was going to go, what avenue I was going to go in terms of what sport I would coach. And then basketball, just that love never left. And one of my friends, I was doing my student teaching, and one of my friends was a head coach already. Young, we were 23 at the time, I think, small little 3A school in Kansas. So while I was doing my
right in
student
the
teaching,
beginning, huh?
Got right into it, and then right out of college, I got hired at Cape Mount Carmel in Wichita, Kansas, and spent Bernie Pearson worked for him up there, and he kind of took me in and started coaching basketball, and that's what I've done. And my first, Kansas is such a different setup in terms of the structure and those things. That's kind of one of the reasons why I moved to Oklahoma.
Sure, it is a basketball state, though, right?
It is. Yeah, no, it's they love their basketball. Like for instance, in Kansas, you'll start basketball practice the third week in November. And you got you got 2 weeks of practice for your first game, and that's with Thanksgiving thrown in it. So it's crazy. And so how I ended up in Oklahoma, I have a twin sister. Her husband's originally from Broken Arrow, and he was coaching at Bixby at the time. And I spent my first 8 years in Kansas, 4 at Cape Mount Carmel. Got my first head job in Winfield, Kansas. Was looking for something different, and I knew that they had started like practice October 1st and those things. I just wanted to be around the game more. And so I took a chance, and Scott Paddock hired me at Bixby to be an assistant. And then I met my wife, and then I hightailed it over to Oklahoma City, and I'm at Piedmont for 2 years, and got a chance to get in Edmond Public Schools at Memorial. And then 3 years later, Josh Williams leaves and takes an admin job, and I'm the head coach at Santa Fe. So it was
just
kind
like
of
that.
It is, and it's weird to think next year will be, if I'm right, if my math serves me correctly, that'll be my 8th year in Oklahoma already. And it's just kind of crazy because I spent my lifelong Kansas kid, and thought I'd just coach there and teach there and retire there. And if you'd have told me 10 years ago I'd be in Oklahoma and coaching that stuff, I'd tell you you're crazy. But here I am.
Such is life. Now, your college experience as an athlete, man, how was college baseball? 'Cause, you know what I mean? Because first of all, a lot of high schoolers, they only know what they know. And we give them all that we can give them in preparation for what's to come once they get to the next level. But how much of a difference was competing at the amateur level to the college level?
Well, when I first got there, like a lot of kids, I'm from a small town, so when I first got there, it's like, man, I'm not ready for this. It took a while. So my first adjustment was getting in the weight room. That was a huge impact for me. Getting in the weight room, I think I got there at 170 pounds. By Christmas break, I was 195. And so just the speed of the game, and people don't understand that. Just like you hear people talk about in basketball all the time, the speed of the game, just being the athletes that on the field were different. Pitching was a lot different.
Sure.
Pitching in high school wasn't as strong as the collegiate level, but just kind of getting that comfort level and adjusting. But the schedule, like I tell people all the time, the schedule too, it's the same. I remember like my last couple of years, it was 6 a.m. weights, class 8 to noon. You got about an hour break. Baseball practice is the one thing God loved My brother's a college baseball coach, and God love baseball people. Long and slow.
Long and slow.
To me. So
well, what's the standard length of time for baseball practice?
We would practice normally, like, unless you just, I mean, if it was before the season, once you get into seasons, like anything else, it kind of dwindles down. But it can be a 4-hour practice.
Ooh,
you get 3, like if you got BP, depending on what you would do, it was nuts. So they were so slow. But roughly, most of the time, I'd say about 2 hours, really. You kind of kept it at 2.5. But just a slower game. It really is, and to get those bodies. So, and then I would, I was playing D2, so I'd work at night. So that was my schedule. And I remember getting through it. And here's what's crazy is I didn't ultimately really love baseball. I loved the competing side of it. It's what kept me going. And that's kind of what makes me and shapes me as a high school coach is I'm one of those that I kind of encourage multi-sport athletes. That really doesn't bother me.
It took a while for me to come around on that.
On a personal level, yeah, I hate this year due to injuries in football. It's going to affect us early. And I've had great conversations with my AD. As long as I'm not getting fired for not winning games in December, I'm okay. But we didn't, due to injuries more so than anything, and getting our football guys, we didn't have a full practice with all our guys until January 5th, which is hard to believe. And so now that won't always be the case. Like I said, that was an injury related thing. So, but I played multiple sports, and to be honest, like baseball was my least favorite. I'd say basketball was always number 1, football is probably number 2, and then baseball. But I had a friend that was fortunate enough. He was really good. He was a catcher, and he played at Cali, made it to Double-A, all this stuff, but got drafted out of high school. And I was fortunate enough I was playing in front of a lot of college coaches, and I got one D2 coach to say, hey, I'm interested, and that was the best offer I had. And my goal in college was I was not going to go my brother, again, older brother, he had a lot of loans, took out a lot of loans for college, and I didn't want to.
You don't want to go that route.
I didn't want to go that route as much as possible. So
were you able to make it through that, or did you?
I did.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. So that's and I tell people that all the time. It's I know we love basketball or whatever, but you may be go play baseball, go play soccer, go play football. You might be closing a door, to an avenue that you might actually need later in life. So that's kind of what shapes me. Now, if I can get all basketball guys, yeah, of course I love that. I love having guys in the gym all year round. But it's just something that, in Kansas, again, you can't survive there coaching without multi-sport athletes. And so a lot of the schools, at least the 5A schools, maybe some of your bigger 6A schools, but I just kind of got in that mold. And so I'm used to it. And so in Santa Fe, what's unique about that is right now, I think we, over the not just now, but over the course of time, they've probably done it better than anybody, in terms of multi-sport athletes. And in the next few years, we're going to be doing that. So we got some really good kids that are on the football field that'll help us in basketball. And so I just embrace it, just like anything else. AAU basketball now, you just learn to embrace things and go with it. So
and the fact of the matter is, with stuff like AAU and things that are contemporary, we can complain about them, but the fact is, it ain't going away. So we got to figure out a way to
and
deal
again,
in
I
space.
think it's just separate. And I talked to a lot of coaches. And I think Coach Coward at Memorial had a good way to print it. They're just separate. The reason we don't bring it up is because you can have your AAU life. That's great, but it's just different than what we're going to do at Memorial. It's the same thing. Like I help with Team Griffin, and I don't bring Team Griffin into Santa Fe or vice versa. Like whatever AAU your organization you belong in or participate, that's outstanding. I think you need to do that. You need to be seen. That's what's going to help you get to the next level. But once October 1st started, it's all about Edmond Santa Fe. So we try to do that as much as possible. But I do think kids need to get involved in it, So, and like you said, it's not going anywhere. So embrace it and try to learn from it. And that's why, the coaching side of it, getting involved with those coaches, I think, one, that makes me a better coach. But just seeing the kids and being around it as much as possible. And I also helped Shane Wagner in Piedmont. And Joe Crawford with Team Oklahoma. When I was there, they asked me to get involved. So for me, the avenue was I get to be around other coaches, I get to learn, and I get to be around kids. And then I get to embrace the AAU, the culture, and know about it instead of being one of those coaches that screw AAU basketball or whatever that is. And it's just trying,
I think their strong feelings about it is due in large part for them not knowing all the nuances, what all goes in, because not everybody is scum.
Right.
That's in it,
There's a lot of really good programs. There's a lot of good guys that do it the right way. And honestly, one of the reasons I got involved was my relationship with Kellen. It actually summer league games versus Mount and Piedmont.
There you go.
And see how they do. And then his Oklahoma Power team. And so that's kind of when I was really going to help him get involved. And then he took over the Team Griffin, and so I sat a year, and then ended up getting to where it worked out. But there's a lot of coaches and programs that do it the right way, and so. And you never want to limit a kid. It's an opportunity,
True.
but they just are different. I think it's like, I like to use the word, it's a good supplement to each other. You need
Great
to do
word.
both, because I think, the one negative about AAU is you're going to have so many practices.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have 2 weeks. If you're fortunate, you have 2 practices in a week. But you're going to have to play so many more games than practices, and that's not conducive to what college basketball is really like.
Right.
It's much more like the high school schedule. We're going to be in class all day. You're going to be in a weights class, and we practiced 73 times this year for 26 games. So
wow,
I think that's a lot of practice.
It sure is.
So that's what the college model's like. So.
No wonder we get upset whenever things aren't sharp. We put so much time into this thing here.
Well, I look at it again. I'm coming from Kansas. I've got 2 weeks to get my first game now, October 1st. It was,
big difference.
Huge difference. I could see where it'd be a little alarming if you went from Oklahoma to Kansas, but that was a nice jump for me. It's kind of easy. Like, oh, we got plenty of time. So
now, your first gig when you got to Oklahoma was Bixby, correct? Did I hear that right?
That was my assistant coach. Yep.
How was that experience, and what was your role as an assistant? Did you have a team of your own first year, or were you just floating?
I did. He Jay Biddle was the assistant varsity coach in JV.
Mm-hmm.
No, he didn't even actually do JV. He was just the assistant varsity. So
Okay.
He had head coaching experience, had been the head coach at Bixby and then I was the sophomore and JV coach along with assistant varsity. So man, those were good nights. Those are good memories. I got there and
busy 4 nights a week, baby.
4 night, yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
That's right.
And it's I look back, it's like, man, how did I do it at 33? But it's kind of refreshing. I had to start over. Kind of had to reprove myself, and you're in a new state, a new environment, and so I kind of embraced that, and that's what I had to do. And I owe a lot to Scott Paddock. One, I think he's a hell of a coach, but two, he didn't know me from Adam. I just kind of contacted him and said, hey, I'm kind of applying for this job. My brother-in-law, Mickey Nickel, he'll kind of speak on my behalf, that type of thing. And, would you be interested in taking me? And he did. So, and now we have a great relationship. So he came out to some of our games this year at Union and that stuff. So, but very fortunate he took me and then let me get started here in Oklahoma.
Were you there for just a year?
Just a year.
Okay. How'd that come about? Did somebody come poking and you made the jump?
No, the wife. So
okay.
I met my wife, and we were dating at the time, and she was a coach, which was nice. She was coaching volleyball at Bixby and got out of education, and she went the corporate wellness route, got a job at Devon Energy.
Hey,
and so she moved to Oklahoma City, and I thought I would hang out for a year, try to get my bearings and see where I wanted to go and what I could find. And then lo and behold, Piedmont was still open in late July, and a friend of her brother-in-law's actually was the girls coach at the time, Jamie Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of how that started. Make a few calls. That job was still open, and the next thing you know, I'm at Piedmont. So allowed me the opportunity to get over here, stay close to her, and then start kind of building those ties. And I always lived in Edmond. That's where my wife wanted to be. She's from Enid, so I didn't know anything much about Oklahoma. And long term, that's kind of where she wanted to be. She had a sister here, and that was kind of the end goal. So that's kind of how that happened. But I enjoyed my time at Piedmont. A lot of great people there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that was your first head gig, right?
Yeah,
first time in the driver's seat?
Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma.
I had 4 years head coaching experience in Kansas at Winfield. So I went from Capon to Winfield and then Bixby.
Okay. Now, so you're in the driver's seat in Oklahoma now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What was different, if there were any differences in your first head coaching tenure and in your second one? Are there styles of play differences from Kansas to Oklahoma?
Honestly, just the format, really.
Okay.
The playoff format, everything in scrimmages. You don't get scrimmages in Kansas.
None?
So no, none. So I'm telling
That's incredible.
You have 2 weeks of practice and you're in games. And
wow.
That's, and it's crazy. And so,
not even at the holiday break, call people up, hey, let's get together.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
No,
okay.
People, they'll do alumni scrimmages. That's kind of a popular thing where you bring former players in and scrimmage. But
sure.
It was just crazy. But some of that, if this made sense, not that it's ever easy, but it was easier for me in terms of the adjustment because you just had so much more time. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I moved to Oklahoma. You look at the facilities and you look at, like I said, I had a brother-in-law who had been coaching football and baseball here for a while. And he grew up. He's Broken Arrow alumni, played baseball there and football. And so he's like, dude, you got to – and he played at Pitt State, and so he did student teaching in Kansas. And he was telling me, like, just how much different the format is. And if you love it so much, why don't you get down here and try it? So it's kind of how all that happened. So there was a lot of differences, but, we had that much time, it gives you that much more, opportunity to get established. And like my first year at Piedmont, not knowing anyone, was just getting those relationships built. A lot like Santa Fe this year, getting the relationships built with the players. But when you have them in a weights class, or you have them, throughout August, that helps prepare a coach. Like for now, I feel bad for some of these coaches that have been hired in their first year with the COVID-19 stuff, and how that's gonna
set them back at least a couple of months.
It is, but the good thing is, if they're not the only coach going through it,
that's right.
The entire state's going through it. But that would be kind of tough. But that transition was kind of seamless to me.
I hear you. I can remember my first head coaching job was right after you had left from Piedmont. And I can remember my brain was going a mile a minute in terms of just figuring out, okay, what's the first order of business for me? What's my very first task that I'm going to do now that I've gotten this label? What was the first thing you did after you became head coach? Was it a meeting with the guys, their parents? What was the deal?
Made contact with some of the players.
Okay.
One of them was ended up leaving. there's anytime a coach leaves, there's always going to be some
turnover.
Kids are leaving. They're going to bounce. So some were going to follow Wagner to PC North, and that ended up coming to fruition. But that was kind of first and foremost in terms of the job itself. For me, it was find a place to live.
That'd be pretty paramount.
Find a place to live and get kind of situated. But from the team aspect, it was just getting to know the players as much as possible. And that's what's tough when anytime you come into a new situation, you've got especially those seniors. You got seniors or juniors that they're going to get you for 1 to 2 years. You got to start establishing that relationship as much as possible. So that was really the goal, is communication with the players. What was yours?
Man, mine was that too, because I had some players leaving, so I hollered at them to see if there was a chance that I could sway them to stick around, and I was 0 for 3 on that deal. But then I couldn't stay locked in on that for too long before I'm like, okay, well, let's deal with what we have as opposed to what we could have or should have had.
Right.
And then it was just laser focused on the guys that we had left, and they worked their butts off for me.
Yeah, those kids were great. They were great. It's funny because we can kind of relate to that. We had those same kids and loved that group. They played their tail end off, and we had a pretty good summer that summer. Before I left, and I just it's unfortunate, this coaching thing, because the timing of job opportunities, it's not ideal all the time, and so it's ideally, hey, could I have been there for another year and then maybe taken gotten a job in Edmond Public School, but that's not how job openings happen, especially when I'm a PE certified, and PE
same. Those are
PE
scarce.
jobs are that they don't come open often, so you kind of got to jump on them. So that was the only thing I kind of regret about that, is the timing of when I left and that stuff. So
and bless those kids. They may not understand it now, but as they get older and they get goals, and they'll understand that sometimes you got to make some sacrifices, some things that don't feel good in order to get to where you want to be. But the biggest reason that I wanted to sit down and talk with you, because you did something that I wouldn't say is uncharacteristic, but I still don't see it as often as I hear about it. As somebody who had been a head coach before, taking a step back and willingly and becoming an assistant, and then you springboard again to become a head coach, and it seems so seamless. It didn't seem like you were forced either direction. What brought about the decision to take a step back after Piedmont?
Because I thought that might actually come up. It's crazy. I've done it twice. I haven't done it once. I've done it twice. Yeah. I feel like this: if I can better myself professionally, or improve my family. Like, first of all, every job I've taken, it's been a bump in pay. Okay,
a lot
of people and we don't make a lot of money, but that's always hopeful, and so
kind of needed.
And the other thing is, can I grow as from a basketball standpoint? So getting to work for Scott Paddock and then Shane Coward were two of the best experiences of my life, in terms of what they do, because we were both different. I love Scott. I love both of them, but we really were. We were different in our mentalities, and kind of our main goals are all the same. Does that make sense?
It does.
But our actual X's and O's were probably different. But I think that's important to learn. Like for instance, defensively, Shane's a big gap guy. I'm more of a deny, push, and so just an opportunity to learn in different things. And and the thing about what's great about coaching is, and I know I've heard other coaches on this, and before this, you steal from other coaches and do things. And I felt a couple times, I can go sit down and have lunch with them and kind of pick their brain, but I could also just work for them for 3 years, or whatever it is, and I get to see it day in, day out, and handle the adjustments. Because that's just the route I took. So, like a lot of coaches, I steal from everybody, you know, and I joke, I'm sarcastic to parents. Listen, I know it works because I didn't come up with it. You know, I stole it. I stole it. So don't tell me it doesn't work. I know it does because I've seen them do it. And if I ever come up with it on my own, it's probably not any good.
There you go. And then there's only so much new under the sun at this point, right?
Right. So that's just kind of what led to that, you know, and I had a friend call me, this off season, actually. She's kind of she's on the girls' trip. She's on the same boat. How'd you feel about being, you know, head coach going to assistant? And I don't ever think, if people have worked with me, they understand that I don't have an ego. So there was never a time where, you know, I really looked at those as opportunities for me to learn. And the one advantage I think it gives you is when you go from a head coach to an assistant, you know exactly what that head coach needs out of an assistant. And sometimes that's not always the case. You know, with younger assistants, they got to kind of get that feeling. They got to feel that out and figure those things out for themselves. But so I think I had something to offer, you know, and both of them also benefited me personally. You know, I got to go from Kansas to Oklahoma, get a new chapter in my life, and then I got to go from Piedmont to Memorial, get into Edmond Public Schools, and get into the COAC and kind of learn from 5A to 6A, and learn from, you know, Coach Coward's got, you know, over 300 wins and 2 state titles, and you kind of want to learn from that. So.
Not a bad teacher.
No, that's not a bad guy to learn from.
Were you there for just a season or 2?
3. I was at Memorial for 3.
Wow. Time must have gone because for some reason
it goes by.
Jesus. So what was your role there? Did you have JV at that time?
I had my first year I had JV, assistant varsity, and then the last 2 years I just moved into assistant varsity. I didn't have a JV team or anything, just assistant varsity, which was nice. It was very low stress. That's what's crazy. And you know, you can, as much as you want, I firmly believe this in any assistant coach, and they're doing it, if they're really good and they care about it, you still don't wear it like that head coach does. You know, and so just trying to be conscious of that for Shane. And then, you know, the one thing about our crew at Memorial, the assistants, is we kept it pretty light. You know, so that was kind of our job. So at least we made that our job. So
that's the best
I felt
part
like
about
sometimes Shane had, you know, he had his 26 guys he had to take care of, but he had 3 other kids that he also had to take care of, which is assistant coaches. But, you know, it's always learning from different guys. And, you know, our other assistant coach was Colby Connell and Aaron Young, you know, 2 guys that are just out of the college ranks, whether coaching and playing. Sure. And that's, you know, always opportunities for me to learn. So I just kind of went in there and absorbed all that as much as I could. So
when you're absorbing stuff or trying to determine what you're going to take and use on your own, is it based on whether or not it works, or is it based on whether or not it's consistent with your personality?
It's kind of a mix, you know. So offensively, I feel pretty comfortable as an offensive coach in terms of things I've just. Again, I'll say that Scott Paddock is one of the best, if not the best coach I've ever seen coach motion basketball, right? Okay. And I spent a whole year with him, and I know how he drilled it. I know but that's just not me. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
So I'm not that good of a coach, to be honest, to kind of emulate that and stuff as much as I want to. Shane is a really good motion coach. I have a different principles in terms of how I like to play offense. But I like both of them defensively. You know, I just felt like I felt comfortable with what I did as a defensive coach. Right. But I looked at other teams and thought, you know, I think they do it a little better than us. So how do they do it? What makes them tick? What makes them? And a lot of it's just mentality. And, you know, some of it's and it's nothing earth-shattering. It's not. Right. It never is.
Sometimes I'm looking at like it's got to be something I haven't uncovered.
Right. It's not. It's simplicity, really. It is. It's just doing the same things day in, day out, and then just building. We always say in coach, but building a mentality. And that's what he did good. Like our kids at Piedmont, they would play hard defensively. But then I looked at just some things I would change. You know, I was asking them to cover a lot of ground. You know, you're asking them to go from deny and to a gap to hard help. That's a lot of ground for a kid to cover, opposed to if you're already setting a gap, you know. But then there's negatives to that too. If you face a really good shooting team, when you're a hard gap, that, you know, shooters are getting to see the rim and stuff like that.
After they hit 2 or 3 in a row, your hand doesn't matter.
Right. So it just taking those things, just adjusting. And so I've always felt like this year, I've always felt myself as personally, I would like to label myself a man coach. You know, I like to play man-to-man defense.
It's just that pride, baby. We want to sit down and guard your man.
And it goes back to that, like one of the things, you kind of asked me this too, what's the best advice you've learned? You know?
Oh, yeah. That's coming, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, one of them was be coachable. As a coach, be coachable. Like learn. Do the same things you would expect out of your players. You know, be open to new ideas. And so this year, we're 8 games in. And our defense is okay. Our offense struggled a little bit this year. We didn't shoot it as well, so we were trying to think of what do we need to do that can help our offense, and then also take maybe help our defense a little more. We went to a 2-3 zone. It just fit our athleticism and our length, and our points per game. So we split the seasons into thirds, basically the first 8 games, the next 8 games, and then this is our game plan for the last 8 games or so. Well, we dropped our points per game. We're giving up about 50 in man-to-man. We dropped that to 39. We started. Now, it's what's crazy is people would automatically assume it slowed our offensive tempo. It didn't slow us down. We were still shooting about the same amount of shots a game and all that stuff, but it just really helped out our defense. We weren't very deep, kept us out of foul trouble, those things. So, like I said, it's going back to your thing of learning from other coaches, and that's one thing I learned from both those guys is do whatever you need to do to win. I don't know if as a head coach at 28 if I'd have made the switch that I did this year, talking to our staff and those things, because it would have been that stupid pride and that said, no, we're going to be we're going to force this in. But you got to do what's best for your kids and your program. And as much as we want to do something year in, year out, it's not college. We don't necessarily recruit the kids to fit our system.
True.
You got to adjust your system. And I still think there's, again, though it's about it's a give and take. They're going to believe in whatever you believe in. And as long as you can coach it, at the same time, you've got to adjust to your personnel. So that's probably what I've learned the most about my coaching and going from head coach and assistant and with Paddock and Shane and all these different guys is just taking different ideas and always put the kids first, though.
You're still getting sharpened, man. Iron is sharpening iron.
Trying to always grow, always trying to grow. And so it's a younger, I always say it's a younger coach's game. You got to stay up with young. And I'm getting old. I'm not, I'm 40. I'm closer to 40 than I am anything else. So I'm not getting younger, and I gotta keep up with that. And so not only building the relationships, communicating, but being able to adjust and making your personnel fit your system to your personnel.
Man, you said something that spoke to me directly. It was like what you said when you were 28 years old as a coach. You don't know if you'd have had the maturity to make that change. And what I'm thinking is when I see athletic teams like yourselves, right, that can get out and go, you got length, you got bodies, and I'm like, man, I don't want to see them run a zone. But if you think about the kryptonite to most high school athletes offensively, it's playing against the zone. Not because they can't shoot it well, but because they don't like to play without the ball. They don't move.
Right, and it's nuts because I learned this at Piedmont. We shot it. It's unreal how well we shot it from 3 against man. And then teams would zone us, and you would think those numbers are going to – no, we actually shot worse against the zone from 3 than we did man. You can't you bust up that rhythm. And like I said, like I couldn't be – I had to get over my ego, and I couldn't be scared. I had to do was put your team first, just coach your team. And I can't imagine Santa Fe hasn't seen a 2-3 zone in a while, that fan base. Right. So, but that's what we had to do, and so that's what made us competitive, and that's what kept us in games and gave us a chance this year. And obviously moving forward next year, hopefully we have more depth, and it's year 2. Right. And I know my guys more, and hopefully we'll have, like I said, a few more bodies out there. But we're going to that's what I've learned is I'm going to do whatever I can to try to put our team in the best position possible. But, you also look at that too, and you have to trust your assistants. I got 2 really good assistants, and Tim Flanagan and Dan Pendergrass, and Dan's his own guy. Yeah. And the thing about it is you can still use that athlete and that athleticism. Now in the half court, you're really shrinking the court. You're giving that kind of spoke to me. And he said, then there's less scouting. We were a young team. We played a lot of sophomores, a lot of juniors, underclassmen. You kind of eliminate some of that. You make it a little easier on them. And then and the other thing about this is they were good at it. Whether they wanted to or not, and they may tell me, as a coach, we hated that 2-3 zone. They were really good at it, and they rotated better out of it than they did man. And
that tells me they bought in.
They did. They bought in. That's all you can ask for as a coach, And then the COAC conference. This is crazy. This came out, and I nominated him. I didn't think it happened, but we ended up Donovan Vickers ended up getting defensive player of the conference. I think he was at least 1 or 2 in the league in deflections and steals.
See,
so it's just a different way, And even me, I'd like, man, I don't want zone. I don't want 2-3. I don't want to be known for a 2-3 zone. Yeah. But that's what helped our guys. That's what gave our team. So we're going to do that. So it's proud of our guys and proud for Donovan that ended up happening.
We're going to take a brief intermission from the hoops, man.
Okay.
We're going to go to what's current. The one thing that has affected everybody right now, either directly or indirectly. I don't even know if you can say anything other than just directly at this point.
Right.
The coronavirus.
Yes.
Okay. I can remember in the beginning, I think it was the week of the state tournament, that's when the world kind of started shutting down.
Man. And it started in Oklahoma City.
You're right. It started right here in Oklahoma City, and I got to be honest, I wasn't sure if I was a believer at that time. I thought it was still kind of trendy with the big corporations shutting down, domino effect. Did you initially think we were overreacting?
It was crazy. So I really wish they would have played that state tournament for all those players, and we weren't in it. It's not like we didn't have it. I just feel bad for those because you've done this long enough. Some of those seniors, and certain teams, and this year more so than any other season in 6A was kind of wide open.
Right. Oh, very wide open.
I mean, if any coach was like, "Hey, I think we got a chance to win," I think they were all right. So selfishly from a basketball standpoint, I wanted to see it, but there's people that get paid a lot more than me, that are a lot smarter than me, that need to make those decisions. What was disheartening, again, I'm from Kansas, so I pay attention to a lot of friends back home.
Heck yeah.
They got through the 2 of the 3 rounds of the state tournament and then killed. So, there's some teams.
Worse?
There was teams winning game. They're thinking they're going to a state championship game, and then they find out afterwards, hey, we're canceling. So, but you look at the numbers now, and you look what's happening. I think that you always got to err on the side of caution because, Edmond Public Schools always says this as a teacher, educator. Your number one goal is to provide you need a safe environment for your kids.
That's a fact.
And so, selfishly, do I wish they would have played the state tournament? Did it seem like they were overreacting? Yeah, there was a lot of discussion behind closed doors with coaches, like, hey, if Donovan Mitchell doesn't go to Dell City High School and work out,
right?
Is that even how much does that play a factor into it? And so,
legitimate question.
But those things, you always got to err on the side of caution. And I have a brother-in-law right now, in Tulsa he got tested today. He's a firefighter. And so we're just praying that comes back. So, I hope it doesn't. But even just seeing him be in quarantine the last few days, how it's affected my sister and their family. If you have something that maybe hits you, if it's closer, if you have a family member that's dealt with it, or at least that threat, it kind of hits home a little differently. So from a basketball standpoint, I thought we overreacted a little bit, but looking at everything now, it's probably the right decision. And you look back now, and we probably didn't do enough at the time and ahead of time, the precautions to make sure that we didn't find ourselves in this predicament. But here we are. So
speaking of precautions, have you just taken on a whole new practice in terms of how you keep yourself clean, or is it still life as it was before, just a little more cognizant?
Man, I just at home, it's boring. You always say this. Same stuff. You know how this is. At the end of the season, it's such a grind. You're like, man, I wish I could use a break. I just want a break.
Oh, we got your break, all right.
Yeah, you got your break, man, and it's killing me. I'm kind of a people person. I like to interact and engage with guys, and I'm missing our guys. That's one good thing. You always take something that I lost my dad, when I was 21, and so I've always had that kind of mindset since then. Don't ever take anything for granted.
Sure.
And same thing. Like I live every day, and that's my message to all the guys. You never know when your last chance is going to play, all those things, and then you see something like this.
Right.
It just kind of reiterates why I do what I do. For me personally, I love being with those guys. I miss them. So we've got a little online workout program that we're doing. So today I'm texting them and using Remind and getting them to work out, and our football coach kind of got it started at Santa Fe, and then it kind of just bled on, and our baseball team's doing it now. We're doing it, and we're texting each other and tweeting back and forth, challenging each other, even coaches like, hey, so just trying to find a way to stay connected, and we kind of have the thing, Santa Fe is family, and so that's it's you kind of, once it's taken away, you kind of realize how lucky you are to have that. So, but I'm not, me personally, no, I still go to my wife, God love her, she's like, I'll go to the store, I'll do all that, give me the mask, I'll go, you stay, because she still works every other day. And so they kind of switch off with her partners, so they're not as exposed to guests. I still maybe don't understand all that personally.
I get it.
But I'm home and I'm bored, man. I got to get out, so
I'll do something.
I'll do it. Yeah.
I like the way you think, man. But and back to the basketball scene. Obviously, your first season at Edmond Santa Fe is in the books. Okay. Ordinarily, under normal circumstances, what would a postseason or an off season look like for you guys? The months of April and May.
Man, something we got to get our guys into the weight room is huge. The weight room, and our guys always do. And I think today's kid in general will always spend a lot of time on their own skills, whether they have their skills coach or they just do it on their own. Our kids do a good job. It's kicking them out of a gym.
Y'all got to go home, guys.
It's not getting them in it. It's getting them out of it. But I think one area we kind of we struggled maybe. We're just behind a little bit is the weight room. We have we were so young, and we had a lot of injuries this year. In October, of our 20 bodies, 9 of them were injured, and all of them but one was non-contact. And I think it's
those are scary ones.
It is, and it's just getting them healthy and getting their body right, and it's such a jump from freshman to that varsity schedule.
It is. It's rigorous.
It really is, and so that was kind of our goal, our lateral quickness. Building the gluteus maximus and the hammies. That was kind of our goal in the off season. And so
those wheels, baby.
And then our guys, they all play AAU. They'll be on the circuit. They'll get their basketball stuff in. So, but that was our main goal. And then just kind of establishing and hoping we can get and start building our man-to-man defense.
There you go.
We know we got something in the back of our pocket. We know we can zone, but that's something we just don't want to rely on. Because I believe this. I think if you're going to get to state tournaments and you're going to compete for a state title, you're eventually going to have to be a really good man-to-man team. You're going to have to get stops when you need them. So sometimes zone is on my own admission, it's kind of a Band-Aid. You're just kind of holding, you're just praying teams are, going to –
go to Jack City.
Yes. But then we met some teams this year that, we lost to Lawton by 4 in our regional. They were the 1 seed, and, but they hit 13 threes. But,
it's kind of hard to get out of that one.
And, 4 of those came from second chance points. But as a coach, I look back, well, it's hard to rebound out of zone. It's easier to rebound out of man. So
and Lawton is huge.
Yeah, and Lawton was big. And they had a lot of seniors, 10 seniors. So just learning experience. So we know that's kind of the step we got to get to. So that was our goal this offseason. So, and now, I've already put it in her mind, like it's crazy because every offseason is up to kids to an extent. But really, there's a chance we're not getting June.
Right.
We're not going to get June.
That's looking more and more serious as the days
go. It's going to be all on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's scary. And so whenever we come back, whenever that is, we're going to see who put the time in, and whether that be their driveway, family room, or whatever. It's going to be kind of more like how I grew up. We didn't have AAU teams.
Now you got to go hustle, buddies.
Yeah, it's a concrete slab and a hoop, and go get better. So I'm excited though. We're trying to make the most of it, and stay positive and try to beat this and not let it defeat us. A lot of people struggle with this. You'd be surprised. Some of my kids are talking. It's really, not being able to go to school, not getting in that routine, not being able to be in a gym every day. It's kind of hit them harder than what I even anticipated. So I thought, hey, high school kids are going to love the time off and that stuff, but that's really not the case with a lot of our guys. So hopefully keeping them afloat mentally and sharp, and we'll get back to it when the time's right.
When the time is right. And I'm a proponent or a believer in kids thrive in routine, man. I'm not an expert, but I know that much.
Right.
And so whenever that routine gets disrupted, they get disruptive.
And it's the word that keeps being thrown at it's literally unprecedented. No one's ever done. You've never been through. The state's never been through it, and so. That's what was tricky is where you're going to go as a school, the distance learning and all that stuff, and what these days are going to look like for kids. But again, what we're trying to establish, here's your workout, get this in a day. It's 45 to an hour. Get that in every day. You'll feel better, and just sitting around. So
and it's not long. You got 24 of them, and you ain't doing nothing.
Yeah, and
for 23 of them.
You're not doing anything nowadays. Set the controller down. Set the Xbox down. So
let me shoot this one at you, Coach. I actually thought about this when we were talking a little earlier when you were saying, "Hey, whatever we got to do to help our team win, to give us the best chance to win, that's what I'm interested in doing." But see, when you got athletes that have the potential or the physical gifts that can take them to the next level and to play beyond high school, do you ever get to thinking about, let's say, if you have a kid who's a bit of a tweener, but you need him to be an inside presence for your team, but he probably won't be that at the next level. So it's like, do you ever get to thinking about, okay, what can I do to sort of feature this kid to be more attractive, but still not compromise us winning?
We did that with Donovan Vickers this year.
Okay.
Donovan was a 3-year starter, and he's, Donovan is, I guess the term would be college-ready body.
Yes, that means
his shooting's come along, but he's a strong kid. You see him in the weight room. You realize how strong he is. We posted him a ton.
There you go.
And I bet there
was he okay with it?
Yeah, and he's great. And Donovan said that's one thing. We played Santa Fe when I was at Memorial 5 times my last year, and you're just right there, and you know him, and we knew Josh, and Josh always spoke really highly about the kid, and then after getting to coach him, I know why. He was a team first, just wanted to win, and so
a joy to coach, it sounds like.
Yeah, he was, and so but I was surprised, like, dude, I know this is gonna sound, but we're gonna post you. And at first it was kind of like, oh, okay. There was no hesitation. He just kind of looked like, I haven't done that much, but let's try. And,
whatever you need, coach.
Lay down the stretch in big games. That's what we went to, and even early, I say that, or even early in the year, we played Lawton in the Edmond Open, and we're down a bucket, and what we called was basically a Donovan post up and an ISO, and he gave us the lead. Unfortunately, they came down and hit a shot at the buzzer or whatever, beat us. But he was open to that, And then at the same time, though, with him it was pretty simple because he was going to play so much at point and on the perimeter, it wasn't hurting him. I think that's the hardest thing in to do right now in athletics. And another kid I got to coach, I was fortunate, was Drew Tennille. He's at Texas State right now. He was at Memorial last year as a senior. Drew is 6'5". He was a man, and he could have got caught up in having to be on the perimeter. It's just that so many kids are so focused on being on the perimeter now. But Drew,
it's such a finesse game,
right? And Drew, to his credit, in exit interviews, his junior year, we made the state tournament, lost in the first round of Broken Arrow. I'll never forget what that kid said to Coach Guy. He said, I don't care how you use me. I just want to win. I want to get back to the state tournament. I want to win. That's a great outlook for a kid. And then, of course, he's, a Division I kid and got all conference player of the year last year and all that stuff.
That's for a reason, right?
Great players, they say that all the time. You'll see it on Twitter and all that. Great players truly want to be coached, and they do. Some kids, I think, say that because they know they're supposed to say that, and maybe they feel they do that. But the great ones really, truly do, and they're going to say whatever however you need to use me, because they understand that there's a bigger picture. Like I'm seeing Rondell Walker guard the post players, in the post. He's not going to do that in the Big 12.
No.
He's posting up. He's got the ball. He's got a lot of things. So to me, and I think college coaches even agree to this, they'll say, just help your high school team win.
That's it.
Just be the best high school player you can be. Don't worry about the perimeter. And this positionless basketball, I really believe in it. But that also means you got to post too.
That's right.
Positionless basketball, kids nowadays, they think that just means staying behind the 3-point line.
That means you play no position. No, that means you play all positions.
That means point guards are going to post if we can, and that means big guys are going to post. They're going to play on the perimeter. I don't try to limit guys. I kind of, our goal in the offseason, the other thing is it's all about you.
Yeah.
Like from the end of the season, the end of the state tournament, March, the rest of March, April, May, June. You're going to have your AAU season in July. Coming back in August, September, show me. Okay, yeah. Show me what you want to work on. Show me what you do. Prove to me you can do this, and I'm going to let you. Once October 1st hits, then it's Edmond Santa Fe first. And if you've proven that you can do some of these things and expand your game,
I'll let you roll.
Okay, I'll let you do it.
It.
And so that's just the approach that I've taken. And we had such a, I got hired last year in June, so such a short off season. I didn't get the last end of March, April, May with them, and then I wasn't going to cheat and have practice over the summer. So we literally just it was just about getting to know the kids, forming relationships, and letting them play and just watch. And then, August and September will go by really fast.
They do, man.
It's
after that first football game comes and goes.
So you got your little preseason to get ready for October 1st, and then it's just on. So I was really looking forward to this offseason. Sucks kind of losing another one.
Yeah.
But I'm going to allow kids to do whatever. We've got a kid that can do, Colby on a career is another kid, a junior. He can do both. He can post, he can shoot on the perimeter. But I really like to think that we've adapted that. Like I don't limit kids, but you're going to have to prove you can do it first. Right. And you'll get all those opportunities. You get scrimmages in November, and so if you're doing it then, we'll move on. But and it just all starts with the kid though, if he's open to doing it. So,
2 more things for you.
Yeah.
Worst piece of advice you ever got, Coach?
That was a good question. This one isn't basketball related, so I started asking friends.
I hear that.
So I'll go with mine first. Mine was, I want to try. It was a guy in Wichita that I knew really, really well, and he. Even in the high school, we're not college coaches, but he would always, that contract time,
that's right,
teacher time, he'd apply for a lot of jobs. He'd almost apply for every job that was out there. He wouldn't sign his contract to the last day. He's like, wow. Well, you got to keep them guessing. You got to make them think that, that you could leave at any point. And I'm just different. I just thought that was bad. To me, that's bad advice. Some people
I never heard
live
that
by
one.
that. I don't know. And because, again, it's not like we can negotiate contracts or anything like that. It's just you're either in or out.
Yeah,
and
your pay is your
I
pay.
always felt like he kind of behind closed doors, maybe even his admin and definitely other coaches, like, dude, you just look like you're out. You don't look like you're in with your kids and stuff like that. And so, and coaches always say, I've taken different jobs. I know that. So, but as much as possible, like last year for me, it was, my goal is Edmond public schools, and I got to Memorial, and it was going to be Santa Fe or Memorial for me. I wasn't just about trying to find a head coaching job and get out there. So I'm trying to, I bought a house here and that stuff, but I think commitment's really tricky in today's age, and it's always tough for coaches because it's our livelihood, it's our job, it's our income. You got to do what's best for you and your family. But I was 23 at the time when he was kind of teaching me that, and I saw it for 4 years, and I didn't ever understand it. And then I'd sign my contract at Cape, and the very first day they sent it. If I knew I was coming back, I'd sign it. Here it is.
Why BS?
And he just different thoughts, different. But I would never want that. I would want my kids to know that I'm bought in and that we're going to be here and that stuff. And I guess that's one maybe regret I have is coaching is when I took that job at 28 in Winfield. It was to me, I looked at it as a turnaround job. It was a job not a lot of people wanted. And I never had long-term goals of being there, So for over a period of time, it was going to be a 3 to 4 year deal, and I was planning to get out. And so I kind of regret that side of it. But that's just that was to me one of the worst advice I got. And sharing stories, I heard a coach. And I don't know about this for you, but I talked to a friend today. He said, and this came from a Division I coach. They were talking about off-season and building and things they need to work on. Right. They're talking about spacing and offense, and their coach says, it's spacing. And I thought he was being sarcastic, but this coach replied, spacing on the offensive end isn't important.
Is it?
It just isn't. And I thought it's unique. I don't know. Maybe
I've got something to learn, but I think opposite.
I was the exact opposite. So I heard that. I was like, well, that's probably pretty bad advice, I would think. But again, that guy's been at a higher level that I'll never get to, and he won. And so I don't know. It's just crazy to me. So
here's how we're going to close it. All due disrespect, Coach. So if you can think back into your archives, a matchup that you either played against or coached against, and that team beat you, and you know in your bones that your squad was the better squad, and if you could go back and do it over, you'd go right back to it today.
We kind of got a chance. It was my last year in Winfield. It was Mulvane High School. They were in our sub-state. They were in our league, and we let one. We were 6-0 at the time to start the season. It was the last game before Christmas break, and we kind of lost on a block charge call late. It's so funny how this was 2013, and you brought it up, and I can just remember it. I kept thinking, I just want to play those dudes again. Yeah. I just want to play them again. I know we're better. And we got them in our place, and then we got them in the playoffs too. So
you got to redeem yourself?
I got to redeem ourselves a little bit. Now, in terms of games you didn't get to redeem, I'm not saying this because I don't want to tell you anything, but even last year in the state tournament, losing to PC North, Micah had 44. And so and Mike Thompson's a hell of a player, and that's just tough. But that's one game I think we wish we could have back for sure. And get to that state championship game against Booker T. But that one will never. There's games you can look at all the time, but there's games you're fortunate you win. If you do this long enough, next year will be year 17 for me already. Wow. It's crazy.
Not even 40. Barely 40.
I miss being. That's the other thing. Young coaches out there, if you get called a young coach, enjoy it because it's not going to happen forever. So
I enjoy being the youngest in the room.
Right, but it's nuts because you'll win some of those. That you're fortunate to win. So it kind of goes hand in hand. So, but those sting, isn't it crazy?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you had so many more bright moments in your history than bad ones, but your brain goes back to the bad ones first.
You talk to coaches that won state titles, it's the ones they didn't get that eat at them. It's nuts. So you start talking to coaches and say, but this year we lost, and it's like, it's nuts. You got 7 state titles, and this is the year is the one you're worried about, but
let yourself off the hook.
It happens, man.
Well, Coach, we got another one in the books, my friend.
Awesome.
I appreciate you coming during the virus and sitting down with me. And we're gonna get back to real life at some point.